The player window is where you manage your players. It's organized into groups and subgroups, usually by the type of application, physical location, or other criteria of your choice. It's important to group your players in a logical way since it will make it easier to manage your content and programming as your network grows. You can create as many groups as you need and subdivide any groups into subgroups. Let's say your organization has multiple sites and you want to show different content at each site. Start by creating one group per site. Next, subdivide each site into separate physical areas. You create levels by right-clicking in the player window and then you name the group. When your groups are created, you move players into each area. Let's create a lobby subgroup for our new player. Right-click, select Add, and then name the subgroup. Select the group with the player you want to move. Select the player. Right-click and select Cut. Click the group where you want to move the player. Right-click and select Paste to move the player into the group. Use this technique to organize your network according to your needs. And remember that by creating multiple levels, you have the option of storing content and playlists according to their use. The higher up the tree you go, the more global your content and playlists become. Content or playlists at the root level can be reused in any subgroup below. Content or playlists stored in the lower levels, where the players are assigned, are meant for that location only. They can only be used in that subgroup. There are no limits to the number of levels you can create. For example, an international organization could create groups for each country, followed by subgroups for each state or province, for each city, all the way down to individual sites and their physical areas. In a hosting type of environment, you would use this technique to manage your tenants. In this case, each tenant is assigned a group to which they are given exclusive access via their own private domain. When each tenant logs in, they only see their own network segment, which they can manage independently from everyone else's. Assuming they have been given administrative rights, they can also manage their own hierarchy of players. Tenant administrators can create groups and manage their own users independently from other tenants. And this feature applies to both cloud and on-premise servers. Let's go back to our previous example. By default, all the players in the same level will share the same content, playlist, and schedule. There are exceptions to this rule, which we'll cover in another video, but for the purpose of this training, we'll assume that every player that is part of a group shares the same programming. Here are some important points to remember. Players can only be assigned to the lowest level. That would be the lowest subgroup in their hierarchy. Once a player has been assigned to a subgroup, you can't subdivide it further. If you need to subdivide a level that hosts players, you must move them to a temporary group before you can create subgroups in the currently selected level. We'll create two new subgroups under Lobby and call them North and South. Next, we cut and paste each player from the temporary group back into each new subgroup. Since each new player is in a separate group, they can receive different content and different programming. You'll notice that when you click on the subgroup where the players are assigned, the other windows synchronize on the same level. Clicking on a level above will move the content window to that level. The playlist and scheduling grid windows will remain on the last selected level. This is so you can drag content from upper levels into your local playlists. Always look at the breadcrumbs at the top of each window to confirm on which level you are. You can click them or click a group in the player window to move up and down the hierarchy. You search for players by clicking the hourglass icon at the top of the player window. This expands the search field where you can enter the full or partial name of the player. You can also search based on a player's meta tag or group name. When a search is in effect, the player window is grayed out. To clear the search and restore the default view, click the X to the right of the search field. This concludes our review of the QL player groups and subgroups. Be sure to visit www.navori.com for more information.